Hello and welcome to your Region This Week's At Home Edition. I'm Anandi Carol Woolery. Monday, October 5th was the night many in Cambridge's Ward 7 riding were waiting for. Originally scheduled for March 23rd, the by-election was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. After a few hours of tallying the votes, candidate, now Councillor-Elect Scott Hamilton came out on top. We spoke with Cambridge Mayor Kathryn McGarry and Councillor-Elect Scott Hamilton about the election and how they're moving forward.
We were really looking forward to seeing it filled, but it is bittersweet. The reason that it's empty, of course, is because we lost a fellow colleague and council member, Frank Montero, almost a year ago. And so it has been difficult in one sense to try and fill his big shoes. But it also means that, it's kind of the final step to really let Frank's memory and the legacy that he's had for our ward to, now be part of the history of our city. And we not only lost a colleague, we lost a friend. And so that's where the regret comes in, is that we had to fill this seat under these circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is I'm incredibly humbled, to win the respect and the trust of a lot of the electorate in Ward 7. I know on the other hand, it was a very close race, as you mentioned. And so I know I have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of responsibility with this role to really win over those opinions and the trust of the voters that didn't put an X beside my name this time. So the goal is to show them I'm the real deal and listen to them and try to really make sure their concerns are heard at City Hall and they feel like I'm the best representative for them next time. There's a lot of there are big shoes to fill in this role. Councillor Montero did an amazing job. He did a ton of work for the community, and he was immensely well respected at all the doorsteps I went to. So I know that I'm going to try to follow in his example and do the best I can to kind of fill that gap that he left in the community upon his passing. So I'm humbled. I'm very grateful. And I'm really excited because I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm really excited to listen to Ward 7 residents and do the best I can to be their voice at City Hall.
I would say that this has been a very difficult process when in the middle of our election process, we'd already had an advanced polling day. And then the province declared a state of emergency. And so our city clerk, for I think the first time in the province's history, declared a state of emergency under Section 53 of the Ontario Election Act in order to pause the election process.
So when you run a campaign, you have your timeline and then you say, okay, I've got my volunteers and we're going to have this amount of like flyers and these routes to canvass and knock on doors. And we had ours set for 3 months. And I think my campaign and every campaign said that's the timeline, work towards it. And then it was about March 16th, March 17th was when we all got an email from the city clerk saying, we got to put a hold on this. And it was just like full stop, press the pause button. And all that momentum and stress and work was just kind of like left floating in the ether and no one knew what was going on. And at that time, right, it was really, Cambridge the world was full of anxiety. Like we had shelves at grocery stores emptying. We've never seen a phenomenon like this in our lifetime. So people were really unsure what was going to happen to the global economy, what was going to happen to schools, safety. So it was a really strange experience. And I think, my credit to the teams of every single candidate out there. Everyone kind of said there are bigger fish to fry right now, even though the by-election is very important. It's the people were losing jobs. Loved ones were in retirement homes that were getting infected with COVID. So that there was a pause put on, I think, all of the campaigns. Eventually in August, the clerk said, all right, October 5th, that's the day.
Our chief returning officer, and said this publicly when she was being interviewed, but she said, if somebody's too vulnerable to come out, I will go to their homes and provide a ballot and wait for it so that people that are immune suppressed or whose families didn't want to let their elderly parents out in public, she would actually go to their home to actually receive their ballot. So we did everything we could. And I say above and beyond the call of duty.
It was a close race, that's for sure. Scott Hamilton came out on top with a narrow margin of only 31 votes. Scott ended the race with 392 votes, with runner-up Connie Cody having 361. It was anyone's race, but Ward 7 has made their decision. Scott Hamilton will be sworn in officially as Ward 7 councillor this coming week.